Yeah, I'm down with Justin Marcy, the 300 game player today. 3 wins in a row. How's you feeling?
Yeah, it's bloody awesome feeling at the moment, especially being down by 5 or 6 goals in the second quarter. The boys dug deep at the end of the second quarter and the third quarter, and great win.
300 games, it's quite an effort. Where do you rate this one today?
Oh, beating Westmeadows is always up there, especially now the Westie are probably a top 4 side, and to be a top 4 side ourselves, we've got to be top 4 sides, and yeah, we're wrapped at the moment.
And we're about to speak to our Sportsmoves player of the day. He'll be receiving the hoodie today, and if we set up, guys, we're ready to go. That is a really important win for your boys today.
Yeah, it was an absolute ripper today. Come back for JMAS 300s was a lot to ask from the boys, and they stood up and they delivered for us.
Jack, congratulations. You mentioned J-Mar, is that his nickname, is it?
That's his name, yeah.
He was pretty good, but I thought you were the man that gave you guys a real lift, particularly in that second quarter, started winning the clearances. How important was it to get on top in the middle and give you guys a chance of scoring?
Yeah, their ruckman was right up there today. Put a good show on. Adem Scott just come in and gave it to me, Becca. All the blokes in there, Barts, J-Mar, again, he just kept giving us first hands and get forward to the boys.
Did you think that there was a restructure at quarter time? We sort of felt like in the first quarter there was a lot of high kicks and maybe longer kicks down the lines, whereas at the second, third and final quarters you started to link up with hands, a bit more run and carry, or is that something that was discussed at quarter time?
Anth did talk about that. We just had to chip it up. We're kicking too long to too many contests. They dropped a player back or two, and they really shut us down at one point. And then we got a few chips out wide and brought it into Russ Lowry and Pretty, and they kicked goals for us, so it worked well.
You got a lot of guys that can take contested marks. How hard was it for them to I guess continue to push up and push back? Was it based on work rate today, do you think?
Oh, definitely, yeah. The forward line worked real hard. The young blokes like Sammy Mack, Thomas, forward pressure helped the big boys when they got to the ground for us. They were real good forward.
I was listening to the three-quarter time huddle. A lot of supporters were around there, and are your boys trying to prove a point at the moment?
Oh,
I
definitely.
Some of us perhaps didn't rate your boys pre-season.
You just read us off, basically, mate. We meant to go down to C grade and come out and we show you guys. So that's all we can do. We love the pressure, and we stepped up for it again. Probably not the ideal start, but next week, we should be right on.
Have you used the chief as motivation?
Oh yeah.
You got a little dartboard.
We love the write-ups from you, so we take it on board and come out and prove you wrong again.
We were out at training for Web TV during the week. Anthony Leydin is a very strategic coach, and we talked about the tactical battle throughout the course of the day. As far as preparing the team, what is it like playing for him? How much one-to-one coaching is there? How much group coaching is it? What's sort of the way he goes about things, and how different is it to other coaches you've played under?
Anthony, real tactical. He's got 3 assistant coaches that are real good as well. They've got their parts, and they all come together and play their role. Forward line structures, I reckon, pretty good. We're a young side at the moment compared to last year where we had Mango and Johnny Kent kicking a lot of goals, but now we just got to get our young blokes into it. Forward pressures really kicking them for us, so it helps.
Do you, as players, feel any stress or pressure knowing that if there are injuries, you don't quite have the depth? Twos are a bit off it at the moment, no under 18s, or is it just something that doesn't even enter the thinking of players because you reckon that you'll be fine and fit and ready to play every game of the season?
Yeah, that's a tough call. Our twos they've battled a bit today, but they keep coming back in the park, working on their skills, and they'll bounce back. I'm sure they can win a few good games this year.
You talked about the forward line. It's totally different to last year, as you mentioned, with Mango and Kent. How difficult has it been to adapt, or how easy has it been to adapt?
Well, I suppose our game plan's a bit different. We used to go long down a line every time. As you can see, we probably did that at the start of the game. It didn't work for us, so we had to chip it around, use our speed and our run. But
so is there an emphasis on players like yourself in the midfield to kick goals? We saw Daniel Devine was the only goal kicker there for such a long time, and he's one of the sort of wing come midfielders that push down and kick goals. Is there an emphasis on you guys to be a scoring presence?
Oh, not a lot. When we go forward, we've got to impact the goals. But Pretty, I know he's standing up. He's kicked 4 every couple of games now or something like that. Adem Scott goes forward, does real well. So we've got the height there, just on ball. Now we've got J-Mar back. He's a big goal kicker. He was our top goal scorer a few years back, so it'll help.
we know Westy are a pretty big rival. Simo was playing for the opposition, obviously, with your boys for a couple of years there.
Yeah, it's good getting into him.
How big's this win compared to some of the... You've had a couple of good years down at Tulla. How big's this win compared to what you've been able to experience recently?
Oh, the last 3 games have been unbelievable wins, mate. I mean, I've never wanted to win so bad in my life, and the boys just keep doing it. So proud of them.
And just lastly, Craigieburn, you guys are as close as anyone has got to them, really. We've seen them up by 90 against Oak Park at last check at 3/4 time. We don't have a full-time score through just yet, but I mean, that's a battle of unbeaten teams. You guys form against them as good as anyone. How does that leave you feeling now that you're seeing more and more opposition? You know what's out there. You're starting to get a really good gauge of where you're at. I mean, top 4 is the goal, but I mean, do you start to think, hang on, we're actually really almost as good as we were last year?
Yeah, we've never doubted our ability. Craigieburn, they've got the 2 big forwards, but Cole Laurie, Russ Laurie, Dave Brock, John O'Hardman, they step up. They took the job, and I think one of them kicked 2 goals and the other one didn't score a goal or something when we played them. So if we can do that, and our midfield can probably beat them a bit better than we did last time, I think we might be a chance. Everyone's saying we can't, but I think we think we can. So.
No, we think you can now. Don't worry about it. We need to see you before we can make a real judgment. Just on the Laurie boys, I noticed that Russell didn't play last week. He came back into the side today.
Yep.
Their impact is massive on this group, isn't it?
Mate, Cole Laurie, absolute gun, isn't he? He's an idol of the footy club. Love child, actually. Russ, he's always been there for us. Great hands, good kick.
Why was he out?
Goal today.
Why was he out last week, Russ?
What was it? Oh, no.
It doesn't matter. He's back now. He's back now and he's playing good footy. It doesn't matter, really.
Yeah.
Well, look, we really appreciate your time. As you said, you've proved the doubters wrong. Everyone's got that respect back for Tullamarine now, and I wouldn't stress too much about being written off in the future. A real statement today. Congratulations on your performance and on the team's performance. Enjoy the win. I'm sure it's going to be a great night down at Tulla. And thank you very much for joining us, our Sportsmoves Player of the Day.
Thanks, boys.
Joining us in the box live now, our next guest on EDFL Review, the Tullamarine coach, Anthony Leydin. Anthony, congratulations on a great win for your team. You're in the top 4. You're playing great footy and coming back from 37 points down today. It really was a game with a bit of everything. Yeah,
something for the fans. It's not how we like to start the game, but to Westmeadows' credit, they obviously had us under the pump. They looked a lot better organised than we were, and half-time couldn't come quick enough, and we made some pretty severe adjustments, and basically believe we were still within reach, and to our boys' credit, they demonstrated that quite clearly, so we're absolutely thrilled with the victory.
With that said, the tide started to turn before they went into the rooms at half-time because you kicked 3 goals in time onto the second quarter. What can you do as a coaching staff on the bench to try and get your team back in the game, peg away and chip away at the margin before you do get in to reset them at half-time at the long break?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. There were signs throughout the second quarter, late the second quarter particularly, where we felt the wheel was turning, and we were quite vocal about that. We were sort of encouraging our chargers and letting them know that the momentum had shifted a little bit. We were coming from a long way back, but we thought if we kept hitting the scoreboard and just kept within reach, certainly half-time would give us a chance to reset and get organised and lay down a couple of fundamental rules and regulations and just adhere to some of the structures that we had intended to set in place in the first half. And we liked our chances. It was fairly upbeat at half-time, but obviously there's not a lot of margin for error when you're trailing as we were at half-time.
One on the win today, mate, and
thanks
for joining us in the box. I listened to your 3/4 time huddle. It sounded like you weren't happy with a lot of the ball movement throughout the first half and perhaps in the third quarter as well. Just maybe a little bit of blazing away here and there, but your boys seem to have responded to that message and just cleaned it up a little bit throughout the day and throughout the comeback. It did seem like the ball use was a major factor.
Well, I'm not sure what huddle you were in because I don't think I made mention of that at all. I mean, we were actually really pleased with the effort in the third quarter, the way we slowed the game down and we controlled the football and we were able to lock them down and I think outscore them in the third quarter. And obviously, with a bit of a breeze coming home in the last, we were quite confident of our chances of overrunning them. Our main message was, of course, that the wind isn't going to do it for them. When we got into the position that we got into just by our hard work and our defensive mindset, and we started to have players coming into the game, and guys that have been very quiet in the first half started to lift and provided us with the drive that we needed in the second half, or certainly in the last quarter.
Jeez. Just like in the pre-season, you've been terrible today, Chief, in writing Tullamarine off. They look good today, Anthony. I thought one thing that was really, it was really good to see from here was how quickly you guys adapted after quarter time. And I think Jack Burns sort of touched on it as well. The game plan seemed last year to be a lot of long kick down the line, but today, particularly after quarter time, you guys ran and carried through the midfield really well. hit the short options really well and move the ball with a lot more fluency?
Yeah, well, I mean, we put a value on possession, and we try and maintain possession at all time. And I think the biggest adjustment that our playing group has had to make, although half of the playing group is new to Tullamarine, is adjusting to, I guess, the thinking beyond that next possession. It's about knowing what may or may not eventuate second, third possession, and coming into the skinny side up forward and not blazing away and opening up the rebound to the opposition when we turn the ball over is something that we train hard on, and we educate and teach and develop them in those areas to think beyond that, very possession and think what happens next if we win the ball or if they win the ball. And we're pretty good in that area. I guess obviously the conditions made it difficult to play slow tempo football and possession football for a lot of the time. We made a couple of messes in the last quarter late in the game, which something we've got to work on. But for the most part, I think we played pretty disciplined, pretty structured, pretty organised football. Although throughout the second quarter, you could argue we're quite the opposite, and that was probably the concern where we just looked to unravel a little bit, and half-time probably couldn't come quick enough because we just needed to get a bit more organised and round up their loose guys off half-back and obviously push our forwards up into the middle of the contest as well.
What about in the middle of the ground? I thought that you guys really started to get on top in the clearances, and I thought that you sort of nullified the effect of Osman Alouche, the big ruckman for Westmeadows. Was the centre clearances an area of concern at all during the game, or was that just something that naturally occurred when you guys started to get on top?
Well, look, from memory, I think clearance-wise, there wasn't much in it. Certainly hit-outs, Osman was well on top, and he was a definite thorn in our side with his overhead marking, particularly in our back line. Wasn't an awful lot we could do about that, but as far as the clearances themselves go, I think it was pretty much a break-even for most of the day, and perhaps we got ahead in the second half. We really made a point of matching up our midfielders against their midfielders. We made it a real focus with individual matchups, and whilst that wasn't always the case throughout the day, as a collective midfield group, we knew if we won that battle that we'd probably come out on top at the end of the day, and I think we did.
When we spoke to you in the pre-game radio interview last week, you mentioned that Marcy was no sure thing even for this week, but barely looked like he missed a beat out there, and he really rose to the occasion for you today, and you must feel vindicated with regards to holding him off and bringing him back when he was 100%.
Well, I can't take any credit for that. I mean, if I had my choice, I'd play him every week. But unfortunately, injuries are injuries. But it's more a credit to him in terms of his professionalism, in terms he handled his rehabilitation and his build-up to the game, and obviously had a bit of a fitness edge there, which you wouldn't otherwise expect from someone being out for 4 games of the year. But as I say, that's all credit to him, and I won't be claiming any of that. And that just shows you the character of the guy and why he's so well respected, not just at Tullamarine, but throughout all of EDFL, be it Premier Division or Division 1.
A lot of the question marks on your boys' pre-season was the fact that half of the best 22 probably left last year, and a lot of new faces have come in. They seem to have gelled pretty well, though. It seems like you've replaced quality with quality. The gelling 4 weeks into the season now, it's obviously going pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, look, I mean, that'd probably be a bit of an edge in quality-wise from Tullamarine of years gone by, but that's not something we put too high a value on. For us, the players that have come in are guys that love to play footy, love to train hard, and work hard defensively and are coachable and can follow rules, which you could argue may not necessarily have been the case in years gone by, hence the results and the fact they're still in Division 1. So, we certainly think we've got a good list, but having said that, you look at the results of our reserves of previous weeks, and we've got a lot of work to do in terms of adding to that depth. Because at the end of the day, probably later in the year, that's what will probably be the most telling thing. Arguably, there could be 1 or 2 perhaps that might slot into the team, but beyond that, we're probably pretty well stretched. So we had a couple out today, but I guess Westmeadows would probably say the same. They probably had about 6 or 8 out and another half a dozen in the reserve. So we know where we're at. We're not unrealistic of our expectations, and we're certainly pleased with where we're at the moment. But that's all due to the hard work of the playing group and their attitude and their commitment to representing Tullamarine Football Club.
Well, congratulations on the win. Thank you for being generous with your time. And, on behalf of myself and Adam, we were wrong. And Tulla's here to stay in Division 1. Good luck in the chase for the top 4.
Well, let's hope so. We're not thinking that far ahead, but we'll just celebrate today's victory with Justin and get to work again on Sunday for next week.
Thanks very much for joining us, Anthony Leydin,
Thanks
coach of Tullamarine. All right, as Anthony leaves the box, we will welcome in Dave Connell from Westmeadows, the coach of the defeated team today, but good enough to give us his time and join us in a handshake between the two coaches as they pass at the door of the EDFL van. Dave, always tough to talk after a loss, so we appreciate your time. From 37 up to 20 down at the finish, what went wrong today?
It's happened all year, to be honest. So we just had a bit of a heart-to-heart in the room. So I think every game this year we've led by minimum 3 or 4 goals, and every game so far in the second period, we've had a 10-minute lapse where we've let the opposition back in. So it's an ongoing problem.
And that was the gist of the half-time spray that we saw out in the middle. Obviously, just an inconsistent effort.
Just inconsistencies. Yeah, we just spoke about it then. I think we've I think we've got a really mentally weak group. We've just talked about that then, and we've got some stuff to work on, and including myself, I think externally and internally, this group's been overrated.
Wow, Dave, how do you become mentally tougher? Like, what measures do you put in place to become mentally tougher, considering you think the group's mentally weak?
Change of personnel.
Yeah, right.
So I think as a group, we just discussed it. You've got me right at the end of the game where we're really disappointed. But as a group, look, I think if you line our side up on paper with names, and you line Tullamarine's side up on paper with names, and I know that's not the way football's played, we're pretty disappointed. But I think they're a much better side than us.
Now, something tactically I wanted to ask about was the stay-at-home forwards. It just seemed there was a bit of a lack of mobility in the forward line. When you talk about a change of personnel, I mean, that isn't so much a mental thing as it is just a structure thing. Did that stand out to you? Has it been a problem through the first few weeks of the season, or had it actually worked to have a couple of guys that sort of play that bear in the square role deep in the forward 50 for you?
It's worked at times, but yeah, we've got to address that. Look, we've got the week off coming into this week, and myself and the rest of the coaching staff need to have a really good look at it, and some big decisions need to be made.
What about Mullen? He kicks 5 goals in the first half. As a coach, you must be sort of at pains to either take him out of the forward line, where he was functioning so well, and move him into the midfield. Is that just a lack of depth in that forward line, do you think?
Look, it's an ongoing thing. It's something that I think if you spoke to Robbie's preference would be to play in the midfield. And I think he's probably in our top 3 or 4 midfielders. Potentially the problem that we've got is that he's also the best small forward in the comp. And we don't have a midfielder that can do what he can do forward, but we have other midfielders that can do what he can do in the midfield. So it's a balancing act, yeah. But if he's not, like in periods in the second half today where we were just unable to get the ball inside 50, then it's a waste for him just to be sitting in the 50, hence trying to push him up around the footy a little bit more.
When the game was on the line, late third quarter, early last quarter, we had Tank with us today. We're really appreciative of that, and he called out for the on-field leadership. Where are the leaders? Where are they going to stand up right now? Are you lacking in that department? Do you feel at the moment? Is that obviously a major thing to be working on? I mean, more voice, I suppose.
Look, it is, and we just talked about it then as a group. And look, I thought at the 20-minute mark of the second quarter, we probably had them right where we wanted them, and that's probably the disappointing part. From the 20-minute mark of the second quarter, we've kicked, I think it was 1 or 2 goals to 11 from that point. So that's a disappointing part, and that's as a group where I discussed that we're not mentally strong enough, and we don't have enough people that can stand up and say, well, I'm going to do something about it.
Do you have the leaders that are capable of providing more leadership, or do you simply don't have that sort of in your stocks?
Look, it's something that I talked to Tank at a lot about, and the good thing and the bad thing about, and Tank won't mind me saying this, but the good thing and the bad thing about having a person like a Tank at your footy club that's been the captain here for 10 or 11 years is that because he's such a strong leader and such a strong personality, guys underneath him probably haven't needed to or haven't been developed underneath. So when you get to a point where he's not going to be there forever, then there's an issue there.
One thing that we spoke to Tank about at the end of the game was whether there's any concerns about the fitness. By the sounds of things you're saying, not really, it's just a matter of mental application. Yeah,
it's not a fitness thing, absolutely. We got outworked today, simple as that. We got outworked from the 20-minute part of the second quarter for 2 quarters and 10 minutes, and that's a mental thing. That's not a fit. These guys, we've had a massive pre-season, and these guys can run our games. That's purely mental.
I suppose the good thing is you've got plenty of time to get it right, but there are some tough games coming up, so you'd want to
get absolutely.
It right quickly.
Look, we're at the crossroads right now, so we're in a situation where we've got 2 weeks, and then we've got Dooders at Dooders, Craigieburn at Craigieburn. So look, it's in our own hands, but potentially we could be at 3-4, which is a long way back.
Dave, what do you do during the week off? What's the plans? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, it's changed. It has changed now. So yeah, we absolutely did have plans. So Tuesday night we're actually having the night off, and we were going to sit down as a group and review the game. We're not doing that now. I've just told them to bring their runners, and it'll be an old school bit of a run and bit of tackling, and so it could be a completely different night to what they did have planned. So I'm really disappointed. I actually thought that we got outworked today, and I just thought that we just had too many guys that weren't prepared to work, so they can work Tuesday night instead. And
just a quick one to finish, Osman Alouche. Any word on what the injury was? We saw him hunched over at three-quarter time, assuming winded or ribs, but could it be worse than that?
Yeah, he's gone to hospital, so he's probably got a broken rib.
It's a bad blow given what an important player structurally he is to the team. Yeah,
look, we thought he was really good for probably until and we debated it on Thursday night about bringing in someone to help him out this week, given the fact that we knew Tullamarine had two guys that would go through the ruck. We actually picked the one thinking it was going to be raining. Obviously didn't turn out like that, and it was a pretty fast track, and the ground's in really good nick. But yeah, we need to get him some help long term as well. So.
Well, Dave, a lot of work to do, but thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time straight after the game, and all the best for the rest of the season. The club's been a great host today, and we appreciate your time on Northwest FM.
No worries, cheers.
Thank you to Dave Connell, the Westmeadows coach, joining us here on EDFL Review.